Man, I just want to start off by saying, well, man, woman, you have to be careful nowadays, right? What a great day it is to be alive. I mean, I feel that every day. But some days, you're vibing different. That's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that. You know, when you exist as pure awareness, you value equal pleasure in every circumstance. But before I get off on a tangent, I want to stay on subject, on topic. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I haven't done a semen retention video in a while. It's because I don't really even think about it. It's automatic. You reach a certain point on the journey when you don't even, it doesn't even cross your mind. You don't even think about going back to draining your vital life force energy, because your whole world has changed objectively. And you're resonating at a higher frequency. Because when you commit to semen retention with determination, when you're determined, basically what that means is you level up in energy, because you've consciously retained Divine Mother Shakti, the universal cosmic energy, your holy waters. And thus, as you've retained the water element within you, semen, which that is symbolic of, in one sense, then you have so much energy within you. You've built up so much resources. Your foundation is so strong. Your root is so strong that, number one, you don't really need energy externally. Not as much anyways. So you don't need to eat as much, because that eternal energy is bubbling within you potently, powerfully, because you've retained your vital energy consciously. It's called the elan vital, the vital force. If you think about it, we've all come from one semen cell, of course. Well, 2 cells really, because the egg is important, the feminine element. But that feminine element, we don't want to think of masculine and feminine in terms of gender. Like I said at the beginning a few minutes ago, you got to be careful nowadays, because a lot of people are caught up in that duality, a polarity, masculine and feminine, and bouncing back and forth mentally. But that need not be, because really, masculine and feminine is simply energy. Every male and female has both of those energies within them. In India, it's called the Inga and the Pingala. The energy snaking, channeling up the spine. And when a man retains his semen, that feminine energy builds up within him potently, and thus he doesn't even really feel like he needs a woman outwardly, because that energy is strong within him. So he's complete, he's whole. He doesn't need to get married. He doesn't even necessarily want a partner. I mean, I know I'm personally at that point. You know, some people on the journey may be at different points in terms of consciousness, because we're all on the same evolutionary journey, subjectively and energetically, as humanity is all connected indefinitely. And thus, I speak about this because when you retain your semen consciously, you'll see so clearly. You'll see that reality is subjectivity. You'll feel viscerally the deep energetic connection between you and all of humanity and all of this three-dimensional physical reality. And you'll may even reach points along the journey where God, divinity, checks you out of the physical body. When you sit calmly and surrender yourself to the moment, you may be checked out of this three-dimensional physical reality and see beyond the narrowed bandwidth of frequency that limits a lot of humanity. I'm just speaking honestly. A lot of people are caught, are trapped below the catchment of a certain energy. They haven't risen their energy, whether consciously or without even really knowing about it, because of course there's a lot of Christians that are living righteously and doing the right things, and they might not even have an understanding about it scientifically or energetically or subjectively, but they're just living a certain way and doing certain things, and of course the universe is responding within them and all around them. Ultimately, there's no difference between within and without. There's no duality. I am that I am. I am that. That is me. There is no difference between this and that, subjectively and objectivity. But, of course, discrimination comes into play. But before I get off on a tangent, as far as that's concerned, stay on subject. Because, you know, these videos aren't planned. They just kind of flow. So we'll see how it goes. Originally, I thought I might speak about this briefly. You know, might not be with such brevity because, honestly, it's just flowing. And it's that energy. It's that seminal energy flowing out of me. I got a lot to give. And it's because I've retained it. And going back to what I was saying, you know, some Christian or not Christians or just anybody in general who is doing the right things and living a certain way and, you know, putting others before themselves and not living to gratify the body and the senses and identifying with the body, thinking that they are this separate me, a boundary, an independent identity. People that understand their connectivity, maybe not even consciously, they just live in a certain way. They have a certain energy within them, and thus, I mean, we all do, but each individual expression is emanating a different vibration based on how they're living. Into retaining, you will effectively level up in energy and thus be resonating at a higher frequency. And that's the language of God. Vibration, energy, frequency. Even modern science will tell you that there's a transcendent frequency beyond space and time, beyond this three-dimensional physical reality, seemingly real objectivity. There's aspects of existence. You know, there's always room for growth. And for those that are perceptive, that are tuned in with their subjective, when they look at me, they won't see a body. They'll see I'm really nothing. I'm a nobody. And I'll admit that readily. I'm happy being a nobody. That allows me to express freely because I'm not caught up in a personal identity. So I can get on here and speak freely. I can get on here and not worry about how others are going to interpret me. And because as I'm saying it, as I'm speaking it, it's flowing out of me and it's done. What's said is done. And there's no going back and changing it. Right? We can only move forward. And that goes to a point I want to speak about also, is that it's never too late. Wherever you are. You might be 58. Great. You can still start the journey. Because guess what? consciousness lives long after the physical body. When the body drops, the consciousness within it lives on long after it. Say that one 10 times fast. Lives on long after it. Anyways, now I'm trying to think, is there anything that I want to mention that I didn't say? Because, like I said, these videos aren't planned, so I'm kind of just flowing today. I mean, really, I think that pretty much sums it up. Somebody commented on one of the other semen retention videos, and I was like, it's been over 2 years. And like I said, I haven't done one in a video about semen retention in a while. And, I owe semen retention where I'm at right now, because there's several rules that I committed to at the beginning of the journey, actually, that I'd like to speak about. I've mentioned in a couple other videos, but I'd like to elaborate on or mention again because it's very important and have also helped me in conjunction with semen retention on the journey. And the 4 rules are basically, quite frankly, no sex, obviously, at semen retention. No gambling. No intoxication. And no meat eating. 4 basic rules, right? And when I say no gambling, I don't mean not doing things challenging or not risk-taking. I mean not gambling as far as money and materiality. Not getting caught up in the worldly. That's basically what those 4 rules are. And principles that coincide with those rules, there's 5 of them. And these are things that have become automatic, like semen retention. But for a while, it was kind of an everyday reminder. Just wake up, remind yourself of these 9 things, right? The 4 rules and the 5 principles. The 5 principles are calmness. And that leads to absolute non-resistance and contentment in every circumstance. Because again, you've retained your holy waters, your vital life force energy, divine mother Shakti, the feminine yin energy within you, consciously. And thus, your holy waters are full and whole. So, that's number 1, calmness. And that helps with that. Because that fire element will be within you naturally, being a man. But when you retain your semen consciously, you'll be able to function and navigate reality calmly. And thus, this calmness will enable you to enjoy non-resistance in every circumstance. Non-resistance goes hand in hand with water, with semen. Nothing can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. And when that feminine energy within you is strong and powerful and potent, you'll naturally enjoy calmness and non-resistance and contentment in every circumstance. Again, I'm consciously repeating. Repetition is key. It's all about your intention. And when you commit to semen retention with determination, you'll enjoy these things that I'm speaking about, that I represent. Number 2, principle number 2. Number 1 is calmness. Number 2 is calmness. I want to speak in the past tense. Number 2. Self-respect. We don't want to neglect ourselves energetically. Some people may think or believe that Really focus on yourself for a while is acting selfishly, but it's not, because you being the best version of yourself and emanating a high vibration frequency, you'll be able to share that energy. You'll have so much within you that it'll naturally bubble outwardly, and that'll affect the rest of humanity, whether or not you do any outward work or not, because we're all deeply connected on a gestalt, profoundly deep energetic level. Just you retaining this energy, you'll naturally benefit all of humanity, even if you don't do any outward work. Even if it doesn't find outward expression, it'll find inward expression, or inward completion, subjectively. Whatever you're led to do outwardly, you'll be led to do that. You'll be guided indefinitely and protected. You'll be profoundly protected. That's another benefit. The story of Samson and Delilah. Samson had sex with Delilah after retaining his semen for a while, and guess what? Delilah was able to, his aura got weaker. So Delilah was able to sneak up on him when he was sleeping, cut his locks, cut his hair. And that even weakened his aura further, because certain things about this physicality protects us. And of course, semen is the physical manifestation, tangible representation of the non-physical dimension of energy, the eternal energy, which allows us to exist in this 3D reality. And of course, beyond it, in other dimensions of frequency. Anyways, principle number 3. Number 1 was calmness. Number 2 is self-respect. Number 3, simple diet. Exercise. Determination. Calmness, self-respect, simple diet, exercise, determination. 5 principles. Now, those are quite simple, right? Simple diet. Self-explanatory. Exercise. Self-explanatory. Determination. You need it on semen retention, at least initially. Then, like I said, you reach a certain point and you realize you're not the doer. You don't feel like you need to do it. I need to be determined, because you're carried along the process. You realize you are the process. There is no separate person that needs to commit himself to the process and put his nose to the grindstone. Of course, you might feel that way initially. But like I said, committing to the journey, your whole reality will change subjectively. And everything will be flowing so naturally and beautifully. And you'll see the abundance in this reality, in this world we live in. And you won't think and live in terms of scarcity. And thus, naturally, you'll uplift others. And you'll live for others in humanity. Because, really, there's no other way to be. I speak on this having lived selfishly, having been a drug dealer, having been living for self instead of other, wanted to gratify my senses. And I say my senses, but the senses are really, the 5 senses are a function of consciousness, not even the body. You might associate unconsciously the physical senses with the body, but really, the 5 senses are a function of consciousness. And thus, we're simply the witness. Say we're eating, for instance. Let's say we're enjoying the taste of something. We're simply the witness. We can live with that detachedness. Simply be the witness while I'm eating. Eat with the slowness, not with the rushedness. right? Consciously. Realize that we are consciousness in this identity with consciousness will allow us to level up in frequency a lot more swiftly, because we won't be living on an illusory basis, thinking that we are our body. And a lot of people might think they understand mentally, okay, I'm not the body, I'm spirit, this and that, but those are all concepts. We want to feel it viscerally. We want to know it subjectively. We don't just want to know about it. We don't want to read about it and read a book and be a book yogi and think, okay, God is oneness, God is... Okay, that's great. We want to understand it conceptually. You know, that's part of it, the mental element. But eventually, we want to transcend the mind. Realize that we are consciousness. And be conscious of the awareness, the pure subjective awareness, which doesn't cast out judgments. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And like I said, we don't need to dig up the past, because the past doesn't define us, no matter who we are. But anyways, I don't want this video to get cut short again. I'm having storage issues on the phone, and I need to upload some videos and delete them off the phone. I deleted a couple, but anyways, the last, there's been a couple on here that have got cut short, and I like to leave on, personal likes and dislikes, attachments and aversions. We could talk about that too, right? But I won't get into that. We'll save that for another time. Basically, I can sum it up by saying, when you learn to live joyfully with things that you don't like, then there's really nothing that's non-resistance, right? Non-resistance. You can sit with that calmness in the middle of seeming chaos. What other people may perceive as chaos, you see it as abundance, whatever it is. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Those who see sin and evil everywhere, they're the problem. Because really, perceptually, there may seem like there's a bunch of problems in the world outwardly, but really, the only problem anyone really has is with their own subjectivity, with their own being. Not fundamentally, of course, because our fundamental being has no problems. Our life force, our essence, has no problems. Only personalities have problems. And devotion to semen retention, devotion to divinity, is not devotion to a personality. You want to understand that difference. Discrimination and semen retention, well, the intention of committing to the journey will naturally allow that discernment, and the 5 elements within you will be operating at full force and in proper balance. 5 elements as related to the chakras, right? We want to open this energy up within us, the 7 main chakras in the cerebrospinal centers. The 5 elements, I'm sure you're already may be aware of this, but the earth element related to the root chakra, right? Masculine. The water element as related to the sacral chakra, feminine. The fire element as related to the solar plexus, masculine, the air elements, as related to the heart, feminine, the throat, sound, song, vibration, ether, akash, masculine, third eye, which is our spiritual vision, our awareness. We could say our source, where we realize our inner light, where we transcend the mind, and thus time, and realize that we are divine, and that this world, Lord, is thine, not mine. I don't own anything personally. It's all yours. And thus there's nothing to even renounce. Because if I'm renouncing something, that really means I'm renouncing myself. Because I exist in this pure oneness, this subjective awareness, which is simply lovingly aware of all that is without casting judgments, without seeing in terms of difference. That I am simple existence, along with everything else, that existentially, energetically, there is no difference between me and the rest of humanity, right? And the crown chakra, which is outside of the physical body. And when our awareness touches that point, it's kind of hard to speak on and point to with words for people who haven't reached there and came back to the world. Not really by personal choice. It happens automatically based on one's karmic destiny, based on one's desires and what they're destined to manifest. And this awareness, speaking from within this body, the same awareness within this body is within every other body, but the awareness which permeates all of us and all of existence, aware from within this body, speaking from within this body, is the same awareness that's listening to this in you, has reached that point and came back to the body because I realized consciously that I have a few more desires, earthly desires to fulfill. Once they're fulfilled, there's really nothing keeping me in this body any longer. So, anyways, not to make it about me personally, I think I've made that clear and spoken about that clearly, hopefully. I know not everything may resonate in the way I intend to, and that's one of the things about communication is everybody interprets, everyone interprets something based on their level of consciousness, in short. And like I said, we're all at different points along the journey. And just that humility, realizing that, hey, I'm not better than anyone else. No one's better than me. We're all in this together. Although we may be at different points along the journey, it doesn't make me better than someone else. That goes hand in hand with seeing their intention. You know, initially you might have so much energy that you want to conquer the world, but naturally that'll ripen into eventually you could stay committed to the journey. You don't succumb to temptation. You say, oh, this tempted me, that tempted me. No, all temptation arises from within. And you stay committed to the journey, that wanting to conquer the world outwardly will ripen into bliss, into a purified, unified consciousness, and a calmness. And you won't have a bunch of worldly desires. Because a lot of people think freedom is the ability to pursue and fulfill their every worldly desire. See, that's That's a trick. That's a trick we could say of Satan, of the Matrix. Because the truth is just this. That true freedom is freedom from worldly desire. Not freedom to go out and get it. Oh, I got all this money. I can do all this. I got the money, drugs, and bitches. And I got all this. And look at my bling and my glossiness. No. Because the true bliss is not in all that crap. Believe me, I've been there, done that. Not to make it about me again. Just make it familiar so we can all relate to each other, right? Didn't come into the world born into a spiritual family, and it was exactly just the opposite. But things happened along the journey, and here I am. But had all the bling, had the Versace, had the Dodge Charger with chrome rims and all that crap. And guess what? It made me grow up quickly. Made me see through the worldly, the illusion that success and happiness and bliss and contentment and enlightenment is found outside of oneself. So the truth is, like I said, the bliss and happiness is found within, subjectively. Some of us could spend a whole lifetime living, getting caught up outwardly in the worldly, draining our attention, our energy, and that which, in terms of consciousness, in the long run, doesn't benefit any of us, whether collectively, as far as all of humanity, or individually. It's good sometimes to just consciously take a few deep breaths, or a few moments of silence, of stillness, of calmness. Because breathlessness is deathlessness. And the eyes don't lie. People can say a whole bunch of words. It's really the energy in back of the words, the spiritual transmission, that makes a difference. Committing to semen attention, that intention, you'll realize your inner blissfulness and abundance, and all the resources which much of humanity, unfortunately, hasn't realized subjectively, because they're caught up in the worldly, because they're draining their vital life force energy outwardly. And when you detach yourself from that which is draining your essence, you realize your inherent blessedness. You won't need someone to tell you about all these things, whatever it is. Be receptive. Realize that reality is subjective. And that perception is a personal thing. A lot of people are living in the illusion that perception is reality. Oh, that may be true for somebody personally, but we want to understand relativity and thus eventually transcend relativity. You have to kind of understand something first before you transcend it, bypass it, right? If I don't understand the ego, then how am I going to transcend it? Like I said at the beginning of the video, some people are naturally living rightly and they don't understand certain things consciously, and they're enjoying the benefits that someone will enjoy by committing to the semen retention journey. But it's good to understand things consciously, because then we won't get caught up in the illusion of duality, whatever it may be. I love you guys. Really. Some things go without being said, right? But it's good to remind sometimes with words. Although, like I said, eyes don't lie. Have fun, guys. God bless. Till next time. Lord's blessed me with the ability to consciously rhyme. Of course, a lot of energy and effort in writing and making these videos allowed me to flow naturally and not get hung up or caught up in or identify with a personality, so I can speak and flow freely and not worry about how somebody else may perceive me. And that's operating and living blissfully.